Steve and Jill here.
Good day.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Stephen Jack Butella.
And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk about keeping up with internet technology in real estate acquisitions and sales.
Thank you.
Before That was take 4, in case you wanted to know.
Well, I'm
and
glad.
Jill's like, thank you for getting it right. So
No,
we
I'm glad to do this topic. Actually, this is important. You know what's funny? Surprisingly, being the chick here, this technology discussion is important to me.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Learning how to read from a homemade teleprompter is important to me today. Before we get into it, let's take a question posted by one of our landinvestors.com online communities. It's free.
If it was a homemade, you know, what's funny?
Here's what it is.
If it was a homemade teleprompter, it'd be our children dropping, our children holding a poster board. It's not that.
It's a medical monitor for people that have that are hooked up to stuff at home, like later in life on a Chinese glide gear. I mean, it all works great, and it's not ultra cheap, but it's not a $40,000 teleprompter like in a TV studio.
I think.
And I only remembered this because, like Jill said, I had to send a list of equipment to somebody once recently because they asked me, like, what equipment do you guys use? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, how do I describe all
There's
this
a
stuff?
lot that when you really look
taped
around
it all
this
together.
room, there's a lot that goes into this. It's pretty darn funny. Yep. Okay, so the question is, Chris asks, "Hi everyone, I'm about to send out my first mailer and I'm scrubbing my list for unusable properties. I found several waterfront properties in eastern Tennessee that have oddly shaped parcels extending out into the lake. Is it possible that this is a mapping error, or are these actual properties that perhaps used to be dry land at some point? I have come across several of these in scrubbing this list and was hoping for some guidance."
This is a great question. And I love mapping, by the way. Like, I personally love data. I'm not the biggest fan of sales, but I do love all the mapping that's involved in this. For some reason, just as a little kid, I loved maps, and I still go on Google Earth and fly around in that flight simulator thing and all of it. So maps, especially on the internet, like on Google Earth and like on Parcel Fact, are the outline or the GPS coordinates for the on the Earth are not perfectly lined up, inch by inch, because the Earth is curved. That's one reason. Number 2, you mentioned erosion with water. That's absolutely the case. When that partially was subdivided, there was more land than there is water. So here's what you do when this happens. You take the size of the property, let's say it's 5 acres, with a grain of salt. It might be a 5-acre property originally, it might be 4 now. In some cases, Jill and I bought a property one time in Washington State that was in a river that was underwater a certain part of the year, and then it wasn't.
I was thinking, that was my first thought too. I wondered, half the year, does it look different? When was the image pulled? Was it pulled in February or January?
Believe it or not, people love that stuff. They love it. They'll
true.
eat that up if it's priced right.
Exactly.
But here's the way you can figure out if you should buy it or not. Is there something close by that fits on the lot that's built on?
Yeah.
Like if there's a property next door, the outline, if you go on a Parcel Fact, you should be able to by now click on around the property that you're looking at, see who owns the other properties, see which properties are and how many acres they are, and if they're like kind, and if somebody's got a cabin or something like that next to the property you're looking at, and they're making it work just fine, it's not underwater, then you're probably going to be okay. And I say probably, air quotes. You still have to get in there and find out what's going on for the most part. But waterfront property like that, that's got stuff going on around it, is great, man. I mean, it's the greatest property ever.
Yep.
So that's a great question, and don't let it scare you. That's my answer. Do you have
Nope. No.
Today's topic, keeping up with internet technology and real estate acquisitions and sales. This is the meat of the show.
This is so important. This is a little bit of what we talked about on Monday. Monday we really talked about data, and man, you got to be involved and stay on the cutting edge and keep learning. And so that's the data side of it. Today it's just about internet technology. back when we were making websites, we weren't trying to look at them. How do they view on your mobile? How do they view on a tablet? And there's so many. That's just one little teeny example of changes in the last 10 years that you've really got to pay attention to going forward. So internet technology, and then how it you want to say more, and then we'll talk about how it applies to us?
I mean, go ahead, love, because I have a lot to say about this, and I'm going to be really age specific. And there's,
Well,
there's
go
some
ahead.
brutal honesty about that. All right,
Okay.
Jill and I have friends that are exactly my age, or in a few cases slightly older. And I mean like 6 months older or a year older, which is insignificant, as we all know, at our age, who do not know how to use a computer.
Yeah.
They just got email, anything that they need to do on their phone, they're hand to their kids. So they hand the phone to their kids and say, "Can you fix this?" So in general, if you were born after 1970, you probably won't have this problem. Maybe after 1975, for whatever reason, Jill and I
All right.
really understand the computers. I've always wondered that about you.
Isn't that funny?
I know why it is for me. I mean, that's just who I am and all that. But I'm going to ask you now, like, what is it with you and computers that mix so well? Because most of the people I know that are your age, they're like, it's Facebook and that's it.
Isn't that funny? For some reason, there's something deep down in my soul
that's what I mean.
that makes me want to learn it and want to know how it works. It's like this. You know what? I think there's something back to my childhood. I mean, totally honest. Like, if you ever say you can't possibly do that, look out, I will do that.
Oh.
Like flying a plane.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, for me, it's a little bit of a secret accomplishment that I have my license, and I know other people in my immediate family that couldn't do it. And it's a little bit of a yay. I don't know. I want to personally tackle and do stuff, and it's funny what you said. Now, I'm so the opposite with our children, especially child number 3. I'm teaching him stuff.
I know.
And he's in high school right now,
I
and
know.
I'm like, let me show you how this
noticed that
works.
too.
Here's what you need to do. You need to do this, this, and this, and this, and switch this, and whatever it is, But you know that when I was a kid, I used to set up, this is going back a ways, but I got my turntable, I had my speakers, I had my amp, I had, and I took it upon, I really wanted to learn how to do that. You would see me setting up my whole stereo, including the little things you're able to put the wire in, and that would for the speakers, and wrapping it around, and I did the whole thing. That's just who I am. So
I
it's
came
the same
up with
technology.
I came up with this show title because we were all sitting around eating dinner a couple of nights ago, and we were talking about how much of a technology family we are. In fact, number 3 said it. He's like, "Well, he said, of all my friends, we have the most technology around us and use it the most, and talk about it a lot." And it never occurred to me that I was like a tech person, but we are. I mean, we have the amount of tech, just the hardware we have. When you really think about it, company-wide is silly.
People walk into our offices and go, "What the heck?"
In our houses, and so all of us are.
Yeah.
So, for some reason, I'll say it like this. You know how we always say, if you're not a data person and spreadsheets really kind of concern you, this might not be for you. If you are not just like Jill described it perfectly, really interested in finding new ways to do stuff more efficiently on the internet, or spending hours in a dark room somewhere exploring the internet and looking at ways to maybe contact offers to owners more efficiently, or what a mail merge is, or how to do a mail merge more easily, or how's this,
new ways to sell things.
Doesn't innately interest you, like if you have our number one customer service issue in this whole company is guess.
It's people can't log in.
They
it's
can't
little technology
log in
things or some other
to
things.
our websites.
Yeah.
They can't log into ParcelFact or InfoLots or
and it's them,
offers to
unfortunately.
owners.
They're not that savvy.
And what it ends up being is they use a different email address, or they forgot their password, and all that stuff's automated. You've been 99% of the people listening to this have forgot their password. You click on, "Oh, I forgot my password. Thanks very much. I went through it," and that's it.
But some people need their handheld with that.
Again, I agree with you, Jill, but
Yeah.
I agree with you, but it's frustrating for me to watch it happen.
I know that.
And it's, hey, look, I've been the victim. I personally love when kids just like in a bar or something like that, just say, they look at me like their grandfather and say, yeah, well, there's this thing that goes on the internet, but, just forget about it because you're not going to
That's
understand
hilarious.
it. So to which I say, really, have you ever developed Visual Basic and System 36? And they look at me all cross-eyed. So it's a form of age discrimination that I experience constantly that I love. I can't wait till it happens.
Oh, I know. It's true. It's
Because
like,
they can dispel it in
watch.
13 seconds.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think it's even more for a girl. I get it two ways. I get it like, you're a girl. Oh, how could you possibly know? And then I get it another way, like, oh, you're a girl. Oh, you think you're an investor? That's so sweet.
Do you really get that?
Not as much anymore.
That's
but
horrific.
But people could, but we haven't gone to an REI meetup in a while. But whenever we used to, it's been a long time. But now and then, years ago, we'd go to some of these, investor groups, and it looks like I'm just your assistant walking around with you. I think that's what's going on.
Oh, I see.
They couldn't imagine that I'm actually doing some of the work behind the scenes, and I might actually be doing some of the deals, and I might actually be, making some of these big decisions. It's really funny.
I think technically you have more money than I do.
Technically, I probably do. More property. So
that's for sure.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But I look at like you and I this is the way we think. And for me, this is what this show is about. If you're not constantly online and surprised by something, and then immediately your first thought thinking, how can I use this in my business today to make either buying property better or selling property better, you need to get on board quickly.
And enjoy it. And I think that's a perfect summary, Jill.
Thank you.
Perfect way to end this. You enjoying making stuff more efficient on the internet and the internet itself. I sit around and say, what if we started this 30 years earlier?
Right.
Or, maybe 30 years later. Even 30 years later, the data might be so prevalent that it's just too many people are doing it. We're in a perfect time to do this.
Who knows? Yeah.
We're still at that. The wave hasn't crested yet on both real estate and the internet.
I think it's going to change even more too, because I really am curious how it's going to go. No matter what happens with real estate agents in the future and brokers in the future, there's already some changes that are happening. People are figuring out that you could do it on your own. So it's good. Yeah. It's a good time.
Hey, we know your time's valuable. Thanks for spending it with us today. Join us in the next episode called It's Not About the Money, but It's About the Money.
And we answer your questions. Post that on our online community, landinvestors.com. It is free.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition. It's always about the money.
I know. Exactly. Hey, by the way, I have a little note from my team here. If you haven't checked out Land Tank, if you got some deals and you need some help funding your deals, check out Land Tank. We can help you. Landtank.com.
Yeah, we never talk about Land Tank.
I know.
Land Tank is like Shark Tank for land.
Exactly.
You throw up a piece of property, a bunch of money people in our group go and fund you.
Right. And then
Why don't we ever talk about that?
I know.
It's totally free with the membership.
Yeah. And then free to everybody is our own personal Land Academy deal funding. You don't even have to be a member. So if you got some great deals staring at you and you want us to partner with you, go to landinvestors.com and go to deal funding, and you could submit it there too. So a couple different ways. Good stuff.
You know what we could say in the future? Today's episode, this is just me thinking out loud.
Okay, got it.
Today's episode of Land Academy is brought to you by landtank.com, where you get your deals funded for free if you're a member. And then launch into it.
I like it.
I can roll that into the script.
All right, I think that's cool. All right. Wherever you're watching or wherever you are listening, please subscribe and rate us there. We are Steve and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.